If you look at a map of India's west coast, the ambition is clear. Walk the spine of the Western Ghats from Mahabaleshwar in Maharashtra all the way down to Ooty in Tamil Nadu. If you base your expectations on online media, you think this 1,000-kilometer stretch is just one long, pristine jungle path packed with back-to-back wildlife sightings. This graphic shows the problem. We have a massive 1,000-kilometer geographic reality on the left being squeezed into a tiny 5-minute highlight reel on the right. You cannot compress that much raw distance into a quick montage without losing the truth of the terrain. So we're going to strip away the curated fantasy. We need to evaluate the actual, grueling physical and logistical toll required to survive this stretch. Completing this traverse depends on managing multi-month logistics across changing ecosystems and bureaucratic zones. The first thing you have to understand is that the trail doesn't actually exist. There is no continuous, unbroken wilderness path connecting these states. You are dealing with a volatile patchwork. One minute you're deep under a dense forest canopy, and the very next you are walking through agricultural clearings, commercial greenhouses, and rural settlements. You also face intense climatic whiplash. Up north near the starting line in Mahabaleshwar, especially in the dry season, you'll be navigating golden, arid, and rocky cliffsides. To cross between these distinct valleys and plateaus, the geography funnels you onto incredibly narrow, sheer-drop dirt paths right along the ridges, leaving you completely exposed to the sun and wind. Completing this route means you are constantly negotiating borders, crossing back and forth between wild ecosystems and complex human infrastructure, rather than just walking a straight line through nature. This brings us to the core routing dilemma every thru-hiker faces. This chart tracks your options, plotting wilderness immersion against route legality and safety. If you try to draw a direct line south, you land up here in the high-immersion, low-safety zone. You will end up bushwhacking through unmapped ravines or trespassing directly into heavily restricted government tiger reserves. To stay safe and out of jail, you have to compromise. That puts you down here in the low-immersion, high-safety quadrant, taking massive detours onto paved state highways. The raw math is that 30 to 40% of a legitimate end-to-end traverse is going to be walked on solid asphalt alongside heavy traffic. You have to sacrifice the romantic idea of unbroken isolation if you want to legally bridge the gaps between the actual forest reserves. And then there's the wildlife. Media sets the expectation that you'll be standing 10 feet away from a leopard posing perfectly on a dirt path. But the physical reality of navigating a monsoon-fed ecosystem looks more like this. The canopy is so intensely thick and multi-layered that your ground visibility drops to near zero. In this dense environment, animals hear your heavy boots snapping twigs long before you get close enough to see them. They hear you and leave. What you are mathematically guaranteed to encounter every single day is a massive variety of insects. You will be dealing with leeches and ticks constantly, set to a rich soundtrack of hundreds of tropical birds hidden just out of sight. Trekking the Ghats is really an auditory and microfauna experience. Pursuing megafauna on foot in this density without a guide is highly unlikely and incredibly dangerous. Next, we have to look at the physics of your backpack. The route shifts in elevation, meaning you hike through the humid, suffocating heat of the Psychiatries, but you also have to survive the freezing nights down in the Nilgiris. Carrying a multi-season shelter, proper insulation, and a medical kit guarantees you will survive the elements, but it creates a crushing pack weight that severely limits your daily mileage. That forces a choice regarding your food. Do you carry heavy, self-sustaining rations, or do you hike light and rely entirely on local village dabas and foraging? Relying on the villages offers great cultural integration, but look at how scattered and isolated these settlements are, deep within the tea plantations. If you miscalculate a resupply schedule, your entire expedition is at risk. And when you do find food, rapidly shifting your diet between distinct, isolated regional cuisines while under extreme physical stress carries a severe risk of gastrointestinal distress. Leaving gear behind to gain speed shrinks your margin for error when the weather turns or your health fails. How do you actually tackle this? You have to align the time you have available with how much friction you are willing to endure. This decision flowchart breaks down the two distinct approaches. Your first split is simple. Do you have months to spare, or do you have weeks? If you have months, you take the through-hike route. This requires extreme pain tolerance, an acceptance of walking hundreds of miles on hot asphalt, and the patience to navigate dense bureaucratic permits for every state border. If you only have a few weeks, you take the section hiker route. This strategy prioritizes a high return on investment for pristine scenery and continuous trails, completely skipping the grueling asphalt logistics. When you properly manage the bureaucratic and logistical hurdles to focus on a specific zone, your hike looks like this: a well-maintained path leading right toward the dramatic Nilgiri peaks. Abandoning the ego of walking every single continuous mile is often the only way to actually enjoy the biodiversity this region has to offer. The Western Ghats do not owe you a seamless, manicured trail from Mahabaleshwar to Uti. Moving through this rugged landscape requires a constant, daily negotiation with shifting ecology, weather patterns, and local infrastructure. Mastery of the Ghats depends on your willingness to endure the specific realities of this fragmented terrain.